Hello and welcome. It's episode 983. This is Radio Free Nintendo. It is July 9th, 2026. I am James Jones. I am doing things out of order. John Lindemann is here.
It's great to be here, James.
Greg Leahy is also here.
Ahoy, hoy, everyone.
Is here also Guillaume Bayette.
Bye. I was trying to find a way to do things out of order. Yeah.
Yeah. Just say hi backwards or something. I don't know. I'm going to do things out of order right now. We're going to go into retroactive. That's right. Time for our retroactive on. Oh, we didn't tell y'all what it's on yet. Fuck. I guess that's a you problem. You should have played it already. No, that's not what we're going to do. We are going to do. We said we want to do a retroactive on a game that came out in the first year of the Switch's lifespan. That is between the 3rd of March 2017 and the 2nd of March 2018, inclusive dates. And we got some recommendations. There's nobody I really need to excoriate. We had a couple people who recommended games that did not meet the criteria of, I want this to be a game that was made for Switch, not a late Switch port. But in general, y'all followed directions, which is honestly more than I expect from you. So thanks for that, I guess. No, we settled on a game. We think it's relatively brisk to play through. It will be something we can get done before our next retroactive, which is hot on its heels. This retroactive is for, I believe we are targeting, let's see, this is 883, 4, 5, 6, either 886 or 887, somewhere in that neighborhood. This is almost hard for me to say. We are going to do a retroactive on Sonic Mania. I know. You're probably thinking, wait, what? Yeah, no, you're right. We're doing it. We're going to do it. So get the game. You just missed a sale, by the way, because we're timely. You just missed a sale.
Yeah.
We are so bad at this.
It was
but, hey, it's out
the
there.
Nintendo eShop summer sale, and you missed it. We missed it.
You missed it. We missed it. We all missed it together.
I very briefly want to say quickly, James, that we're much closer to episode 1000 than you think. We don't have a runway of over 100 episodes. You said
I'm aware.
You said 883. Yeah.
983. Yeah, 986. God damn it! I was trying to do math and then I did numbers. 96 or 987 is the goal for this one.
All right.
I'm probably missing some time in there, so we're gonna figure it out based on that. We might miss an episode, so that's kind of why the number's a little bit in flight. But basically, early August is the goal. Like maybe the first episode recorded in August is kind of where my head's at. So go ahead and start playing. Send your comments to rfan@nintendoworldreport.com. There's somebody will create a Discord thread. I'm sure you could put your comments there, or you can go into NWR Discord where there be demons. I don't know. I haven't been there in a bit. And every time I go there, something weird is going on or there's a porn bot I have to deal with. But hey, you can go post your comments, your thoughts, your ideas, your feelings about the game. Your feelings about the game. We got to knock that one out because Johnny sort of set us up for our 999 retroactive on episode 999, which is about 3 months later, which is neat. So we'll transition to that soon after. Keep an eye out on that game for being on sale. It was probably on sale too. You probably also missed it. A lot of other games from that publisher were on sale. I suspect that was among them. But hey, sometimes RFN is worth it. It's worth the money. We are worth your money. And so by that, hey, I told y'all we had an idea for episode 1000. I haven't worked out all the details yet. These guys know what it is now, though, so that's good. I've made progress. Now I'm going to say something, so I'm on the fucking hook to finish it off. Hey, episode 1000. Shit sucks right now. Just broadly speaking, shit sucks right now. We're going to try to make things suck a little bit less. What's that mean? Yeah, the fucking telethon's back. Jesus. But not. I want to be clear. I want to be crystal goddamn clear. I am not sitting in this chair directing a 13-hour telethon. That is not happening. I don't have it in me anymore. I'm an old man now. My back would hurt. I don't know exactly how long it's going to be because our intention is to get guests who were formerly hosts of the show, and that's going to drive the direction of how long this thing needs to be based on who's available, who wants to do it, that kind of stuff. But, hey, if you were formerly an RFN host and are interested in being involved, hey, just let me know. I'm going to reach out to them. I'm not just hoping they hear this. I'm not that fucking lazy. I'm close. I'm very close. But I'm not quite that lazy. But we'll be recording that on a Saturday weekend. You can guess what week that is. I don't know either because we don't know that we're going to do every week between now and episode 1000. But in general, around that point, we will do that episode. It will be live. You will be able to listen to it. We will probably split it into multiple parts on the feed because it will be long. How long? Hard to say. Maybe 6 hours, maybe a little bit less, maybe a little bit more, but not much more. Like, we're trying to keep this thing reasonable, so I'm not literally drinking Jack Daniels, which was not that good, out of a bottle because I'm so miserable. That's where we were at the end of the last one of these things, because I did like 14 straight hours and I wanted to die. But hey, that's it. I've announced all the things I needed to announce. They now have some degree of concreteness to them. Reality is setting in that I've got to plan all of this shit in the next 17 episodes. Thumbs up. Yay. Crisis of my own creation. Hello. So, knowing that I have created a crisis for myself that is completely my own doing and that I could have easily avoided when I started making jokes about needing to plan episode 1000 back at episode 940 something and didn't, I blame everyone else. I am faultless. Speaking of faultless, well, not really. New business. That's what I wanted to say. I'm just going to ask, does anybody here have new business they would like to do that is not Rhythm Heaven?
None whatsoever.
Okay. I do have a little something, but it's just
okay.
I kind of need to look it up in real time because I don't actually know the details. I just want to. I guess like it's a PSA. If you haven't played Mario Kart World, Mario Kart World for a while. See, I don't even remember the title. So if you haven't played,
Tour is the mobile game that's going away.
Right. So that's the second PSA, I guess. But the first PSA, Mario Kart World. Got an update. Well, it got several updates and several things have been tweaked in the past few months. But the latest update has added a couple of new Knockout Tour courses or paths or whatever you want to call them. So now, like if you've done all the Knockout Tours, if you go back to the Knockout Tour selection screen, you can see that there's, like you can press the R button or whatever, like you can go further to the right, and it's going to reveal 2 new Knockout Tour cups out of a possible 8. So yeah, so they're I guess they're going to be adding them 2 at a time for a certain period of time. But right now we've got 2 more. It is just basically, like nothing really new is added to the world as far as I can tell. Maybe some new seasons, but I'm not sure because it's been too long since I last played it. I can't compare it to itself, like to my memory of what things were before this patch. There is a part of like you go through a certain part where you hear the Moo Moo Meadows music, and it's kind of snowy, it's kind of wintry, and I guess I don't remember that, but I don't know if it's like if they changed the season in this part of the map or not. It did something though, like I still hadn't unlocked all of the characters, all of the costumes. I'm missing, I guess, several of the monsters, the enemies, and so just going through the first of these new Knockout Tour Cups once, I got transformed by Kamek into a Swoop, finally, the little bat thing from Super Mario World. Very cute, and so that's nice. But I can see that I still have some costumes that I'm missing, so I'm hoping that at some point Nintendo is going to add more of these tours that will just organically let me unlock these whatever monster costume I'm missing. So yeah, it's kind of nice, like it's something new to do. Like if you haven't gone back to it in a while, if you don't really do the roaming stuff, but you do enjoy the, going through a cup on 150cc, there are 2 more, cups for you to try to get 3 stars on. So that's pretty fun. And I guess, the second PSA is that Mario Kart Tour is going away. I can't really talk about that personally because I never really played it. I don't enjoy mobile gaming, I suppose, but
well, so it's your fault it's going away then, in other words, Guillaume.
Well, definitely.
Maybe if you tried harder, it would still be with us.
Damn. I mean, I'm pretty sure that all of its best tracks are now in Mario Kart World, or were added as DLC to Mario Kart 8. So we're good. I don't know.
It's true, but also, did you consider that you could have been the one straw that broke the camel's back and saved this game? I mean, you could have spent thousands of... Probably you really can't. The game didn't really have a good economic model for that. But you could have spent $20s of dollars and saved this poor, beleaguered franchise the indignity of being a mobile game that managed to last like 6 straight years.
It is an interesting end to mobile, though, for Nintendo, right? Like, it just feels like they went in there with all these different ideas, and basically what works is what works. Go ahead, Gil.
I just want to say, James, I don't have unlimited means. I have to pick my battles. I'm already working on saving physical media, so unfortunately, Mario Kart Tour had to, I could not lend it my considerable strength, but had to pick my battles. I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, and you picked Pikmin Bloom? I mean, come on, man.
Yeah, that's been uninstalled way before it probably helped train War Crimes. So my conscience is clean there.
I want to be clear. The connections in that story are tenuous. This was I wrote the headline first journalism.txt. But yes, there are connections you can draw between Company A to Company B to Company C that were involved in training models that may have been used by Company C in the context of military stuff. But it was like, the headline was like, Pokemon Go was used to train killbots. It's like, what the fuck? It's like, if you actually read the story, that's not what it's saying. Thank you. But hey, I mean, I'm not going to get in the way of your headline. Write your headline. Bad headlines cause fatal cancer. That's my headline.
You'll work your way backwards from there.
I mean, honestly, like, a lot of these articles do that.
I guess since I'm on a PSA kick, one last one. I sent my Switch in to replace the battery. Yes, my original Switch that was bought like a few months, maybe a month or 2 after the actual release date. It was lasting maybe an hour and a half playing Tomodachi Life. So well below the threshold to have the battery replaced by Nintendo. They say 2.5 hours to 4.5 hours is like the normal battery life for a Switch model before the first revision that gave it longer battery life, basically.
Yeah.
Anyway, so so I sent it in, and it does cost money, but not a lot. It basically only cost me like 45 Canadian. And they provide the shipping. Unfortunately, UPS, it's probably the cheapest UPS option. I think it probably traveled by truck from around Montreal to Burnaby, BC, British Columbia. So the other side of the country. It took over a week, including Canada Day. So I guess I can forgive them for that. But yeah, it's very slow. But it is being serviced right now. I think actually they just sent it back earlier today. So I guess I'm going to get it in the next week. But it's surprisingly affordable to just replace her battery. So at the same time, I also sent a different shipment, and I sent all 4 of my Joy-Con that were drifting, and that's a free replacement program. So
nice.
I guess I would recommend anyone who, even if you're planning on getting rid of your Switch, like maybe do that just to give it a little bit more of a sale, to be able to charge a little bit more for it. Because the price of everything is going up, like of every electronics. So who knows? Like maybe GameStop is going to start giving you more for your original Switch in the near future. I don't know.
I actually, to add to that, if you live in Europe and want to buy a original Switch, you should pull the trigger, because Nintendo's going to stop shipping them to Europe because of the EU's laws on user serviceable batteries. They're not going to fucking redesign the Switch to meet that criteria. So they're just going to stop selling them in Europe. It's like, I mean, I get it, because it's not easy. It's not easy to just go like, just put a door on. You ain't just putting a door on there. Because the battery in the Switch is pretty well buried. So like you'd have to redesign basically all of it.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just not worth the effort. So they're just not gonna. So if you're looking to get an original Switch
or an OLED,
you might be on a. What was that?
Or the OLED. Like, I mean,
or the OLED. Yeah. A Switch 1. To put it that way. You are on the clock if you live in Europe, or if you don't want to be bothered to just buy from somewhere else and have it shipped there, which would be relatively straightforward, I suspect. But hey, you get the point. You get the point. We're doing PSAs. I figured I would do another PSA.
Nice.
All right. I have a little bit of something that's not Rhythm Heaven, but we're going to talk about Rhythm Heaven. I just wanted to give a quick update on Star Fox, because somebody so graciously wrote about how much they enjoyed us talking about how the voice acting was, the voice direction is weird now. This was like a weird. I'm going to read it because your listener in China noted one question. Could you please complain even more about the Star Fox dialogue changes? I don't think 20 to 30 minutes every week is enough. Maybe you should start another show where you speak even more about how they change the voices. Then our listeners wouldn't have to skip all that great commentary just to get to our favorite part, the weekly 15 to 20 minute rant on how they changed dialogue from a 30-year-old game. I just want to say, when you send an email like this, you really are just antagonizing me to do it worse. I mean, to just absolutely go all the way and do an entire goddamned episode on this topic. But I want to point out, I'm gonna be the bigger man, which isn't hard because I'm not writing passive aggressive emails. Instead, what I'm going to say is the fact that they made this remake and felt that the things they needed to change were so minimal that can be the topic of conversation probably speaks about to what they should have done a little bit more with this game. Maybe gone out on some more limbs, tried out some things that are a little bit different, because the game is so much the same that things like changing the tone are in fact relatively noteworthy and do deserve some kind of exploration as to why that was deemed as an important action to take, rather than, I don't know, refreshing some of the gameplay, adding some content people haven't seen before, coming up with some things that might make it feel a little bit different, trying to make the Star Wolf crew not easily solvable by just simply doing a loop and then turning left, but sometimes maybe you turn right instead. Like, coming up with some things that would have made it feel more fresh, more new. Just a thought. Hey.
It's kind of funny that there's not even a mirror mode. Nintendo loves mirror modes.
Yeah, a mirror mode would be very funny, but only if all the text was also mirrored.
I think
that would be
yeah.
extreme.
Well,
I think that, like it's literally just flipping the screen.
Yeah, they've done it before with Twilight Princess.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, now Link's right-handed, yes.
Yeah.
It would be very funny. Honestly, that would be excellent. We put mirror mode in. Doesn't make any sense. What do you mean put mirror mode? Oh my god, it's just backwards. All the text is backwards. Including the text in like cutscenes. I want it literally just they flipped the screen. That sounds great. Guillaume, you're on the next remake project. We're going to remake Super Mario 64. I expect mirror mode and surprise me.
Excellent.
But yeah, actually, I'm going to talk about this one a little bit more because I have some weird, like, I'm trying to go through the challenges right now. I'm never going to get all the medals. Like, I missed the fucking, I can't remember the name of the Aqua planet. The Aquas.
Just Aquas,
yeah. I missed it by one. the medal by one. That miserable slow boat level.
It's slow. And the thing is that's not great about playing that for score is, at least to my limited skills, the best strategy I've got for kind of juicing my score in that level is going slower.
Yes. Yeah, that's it. That's the only way.
Braking even more and making sure you hit more of the targets, and so it becomes very, very slow at that point.
I'm convinced they fucked up the score on that one, and it was supposed to be 10 points lower.
I'm not sure, yeah. I mean, I always certainly, going back to the original version and even probably the 3D version, I always remember it being one of the least enjoyable kind of medals to get because, like I said, I think it's the level itself is all right as like a literal change of pace, change of atmosphere, and all that kind of stuff, but replaying it is by definition just more problematic than it is with the other ones because it is slower. And yeah, it's a bit weird that it seems relatively hard to get the medal, because quite a lot of them are not so hard to get. But
no,
yeah, I've got all the medals even in expert mode now. Although it's worth mentioning that expert mode in some cases just actually makes it easier to get the medal in one particular way, which is it adds enemies. So
that's true.
It can be harder because where it's like, well, you're more likely to break your wings and you have the crappy lasers. We talked about that last week. But just in terms of sheer availability of hits, it can actually help you a bit. So you kind of, I was not as protracted as I was expecting to get the expert medals, actually. But the challenges, there's still loads left to do for me.
Yeah, I'm most of the way through the challenges, but some of the challenges just aren't very much fun. And I'll give an example. Try to remember one of the planets you can end up fighting the Star Wolf team on. It's the one where it's the bomb one.
Ficina, I think the snow planet.
Yeah. Where one of the challenges is destroy the 28 antennas. I want to point out, these are our antennas. This is our base.
Yeah, is that a retcon or something? Is that because again, I remember we covered this, but I did play.
It doesn't have any story in.
I did play it originally in Japanese, so it's like this whole thing about the the intelligence facility and all that. Like it's this.
Yeah, it's all retcon.
Yeah,
it's gotta be. But the reality of the situation is like it's. One of them is destroy the 8 radar things. Okay, that's not terrible. It's not fun, but it's not terrible. But again, this is our base. Why are we wrecking the radar? But then the other challenge is destroy the 28. You can't even lock onto the antennas. You just have to just sort of shoot at them in a line, and they're usually around a mountain. Meanwhile, you're being chased by all 3 members of Star Wolf because you've been fucking around trying to find this thing, and there's a timer. Because it's going to blow up. Because the base that's very important is going to blow up. Why did they put a... Andrew, let's say the story's not retconned. They still put a bomb in a base they seized in order to get the intelligence and blew it up, presumably without getting the intelligence. Isn't that still a win? I don't understand. I mean, I guess you get mission complete. So I guess it's still a win. I don't know. The other observation I have is, Greg, how many points do you think Robot Andross is worth when you kill him? I say this because I only needed a little bit to get that particular route of Venom's medal.
Yeah, it's shockingly not that many, is it? Really,
it's 0. Yeah, he's worth 0.
That's the thing. I remember that from
I needed one
back in the day. Like even when you go the one route, like you can still pick up a few extra hits from those like little laser barriers in the tunnels before you get there. But I think the other route with Star Wolf, it's like you pretty much you do get a few extra hits for killing the floating eyeballs and so, but it's not a lot. You really need to get Star Wolf. You need to be over the threshold, I think, just from the Star Wolf kills to actually get that medal. Yeah, so that was always a bit, especially the way things work with the N64 version. Like that was the real pain in the arse was getting there with the lasers and doing it, as I said last week.
So I'm impressed by you getting all the medals because I'm just sick of this shit at this point. I'm just like, fuck this. I'm so fucking tired.
I had to be fair, immensely good luck on Area 6 is really what did it, because that boss, the one with the big laser and all that, like those arms where it kind of it just sort of swings at you, and some of the times like the claws are not even really that visible, like while you kind of they kind of unfurling behind it. And you can't even really see them. And I've got the high powered lasers, so they can die really quickly. But again, it's hard to shoot at it because you can't even see those. And if they survive for a certain length of time, I find them quite difficult to dodge. And if they get you, that the lasers are gone, and then you can't take them into the Star Wolf bit after that on Venom. So it was just one of these I had and even just Area 6 in general, there's loads of stuff going on, there's loads of way to lose those lasers, but I just kind of had it's a bit of a fluke run where I just killed that boss really fast, got lucky just kind of shooting blindly at those claws, and guess what, I took them out. So now I don't lose the lasers, and it all just could have been a lot more of an ordeal. It just wasn't, just luck.
I have not had that kind of luck on Area 6, like at all. Just nothing. Absolute. Like the one run I had that was really good, a certain member of the team decided now's a good time to end my life. It's like, cool. Thanks everybody. You did great. I've actually never had the Star Wolf fight on Venom. I always seem to end up on a route where I don't get it. So that's neat. Like I assume it's doable because you've mentioned it multiple times. I've never seen it somehow. I assume it's got to be like you go through Area 6 and then choose to go to the other Venom. Because if you went through Bulse, you just fought them.
Yeah, that's where you do you get them on the pre-stage here, whereas if you go through Area 6, and that's where you get them on actually on Venom, and it's basically the whole level. I did think that was a huge anticlimax when I was a kid, you know what I mean? Because it's like, all right, I've played Venom on the easy route, and there's quite a lot going on there, right? It's very evocative of Venom in the Super Nintendo game in terms of, you've got like all these like pillars and things to dodge. And it's a pretty cool level. Obviously, like, Andros himself is pretty damn easy on that one, but it's not the true final boss, right? So it's like, okay, this time it's going to be like probably that level, but more so, and then the real final boss, and then it's kind of like, it's true about the final boss, but the level itself is just the dogfight. I was kind of somewhat unreasonably disappointed by that as a child, because it just wasn't true with the Super Nintendo game, right? With the Super Nintendo game, you kind of get a full Venom stage, whatever route you go. Like, there's 3 of them. The middle one is quite different. Like, it's like visually and everything. It's like this weird kind of like rail or something. It's visual. Like I said, surprisingly quite different, as much as it could be, obviously, with the simplicity of the Super Nintendo graphics. But these days I kind of accept it's like, well, they kind of took the finale and split it in 2 basically, and you put it together. It's a pretty cool thing, but they that's the way they handled it.
I thought you were saying you were getting Wolf on the Venom 1 phase, the one with the fake out.
No, you never get that.
I was like,
no.
How the fuck do you do that?
Like you said, you just fought them. You just fought on the defense.
That would be really infuriating. It's like, oh, we're back
on the defense satellite if you went that way.
Yeah, I like the challenge mode, but like some of the challenges just don't feel reasonable. Kill all the giant clams and aquas. I don't want to do that.
Again, it seems like a lot of breaking, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's a lot of breaking.
Breaking.
It was nothing but because it's not like they're easy to see either. And some of them are kind of off the path. That's
the thing. I like the way. I mean, they explicitly, like Slippy tells you, like you can shoot a torpedo to light your way at times, right? Which again, it's kind of a neat little element and adds to the atmosphere. But one of the problems with that is, of course, is that the torpedo functions rather like a charged shot, right? So while one is in progress, while it's still active, you can't fire another one. I think so. Yeah. If you fire one just to see what's going on, you then may not have very much time to actually shoot what you then can see, So, again, the safest way to deal with that is just to go as slow as possible, but that's just not that much fun.
It's to look up where every one of the clams is before the level, so you know ahead of time when one is coming up.
Yeah, I mean, if you really want to commit to it, I suppose there's that. Yeah, but I know what you mean. A certain amount of these challenges seem like it, like maybe reaching a little bit, like some of them it's like
challenge. Here it is.
Some seem like it's like there's this aspect of a level that, especially if you've not played it a million times like some of us have, you might not have sort of recognised, and we've got something built around it. That's like probably the ideal kind of thing. But some of them it's just like, oh, there's loads of this in this level. Why don't you see if you can shoot all of them? It's not not that thoughtful.
There's a good one where it's like destroy 28 asteroids with a bomb, and I'm like, what? Okay, I guess. And what they want you to do is throw it into a big cloud of asteroids at the start of the level. That's it. I do like that it'll tell you when you can't complete one anymore. So I was doing the solar ones where it was like, I can't remember how many kills you had to get with a bomb, specifically with the bomb.
But I think, again, that's another one where it's probably trying to get you to, because it's not necessarily the easiest to clear the hit threshold in that. If you don't, you get those flocks of like firebirds, and definitely hitting them with the bombs is the way to go. Sort of my abilities, that's the way I can get to the hit threshold. So I think it's presumably again trying to kind of suggest to people, it's like, you know what, you can rack up quite a lot of hits doing this if you're not doing it.
It's a lot of work. It's a lot of just like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to keep grinding on this stage. But yeah, I don't know that I'm going to, like, I've tried some of the experts. They seem unpleasant. Anyway, all right. We're here to the main event. We're going to talk about Rhythm Heaven. Last week, we didn't spend a lot of time on it because it had been out for, I think, at most, the better part of a day. But for like, I don't think any of us had gotten past, I think had played the first mini game of Remix 4. So let's just go around and see where we're at. I am now in Remix 15. I have not made it to the remix. I'm going through the stages right now. And I've got something like 24 medals. Not a ton, but some. Guillaume, where are you at?
I'm scared that this is going to be, again, a conversation between you and Greg, because I haven't really played it, because, as I said, I cannot... there's a game that can't leave my Switch, and I'm tired of mentioning it at this point. But 88 out of 100. There's light at the end of the tunnel. I'm eventually.
I did see it pop up on my screen. And
eventually,
I went, God damn it!
Eventually, I'll be done. I only got the opportunity once to do it perfect, and I whiffed it. It was Disc Dog, and it was it's kind of heart crushing when you whiff it. Unfortunately,
that's a hard one to perfect too, because it's.
I didn't even get to the part where they fuck with you visually,
Oh, okay.
It was just like, I was a little bit too quick. You see the I think it's a heart that just breaks. So yeah, literally heartbreaking. Yes. And then you know that the perfect, like I've got no shot at it now. So I actually just like, okay, quit. And I think that's where I stopped playing.
Fair. Greg?
And you went back to 100 line? Okay.
Yeah.
Is that what you said? Yeah.
I don't even want to name it anymore.
If you say its name, you give it power.
Yeah.
Every time I see it pop up, I just go,
it's
he's not free.
Yeah. Eventually.
No, I can't criticize, for fuck's sake. But it is just like, oh man, I got him again.
Yeah, well, I'm never playing one of his games again. That guy, like the Danganronpa, like forget about it. You know, even if it's not as long. Anyway, I didn't want to talk about it now. Like it's fine. Once I finish it, I'll briefly mention it, and we can put a lid on it.
I mean, it's become part of you at this point, Guy. It's just part of your personality. So, yeah,
sure.
He is Guillaume the 100 line.
Yes.
All right, Greg. Where you at?
Guillaume and I were speaking about this before we started recording. I've not really been able to get any quality time in with Rhythm Tengoku at all because we're in the middle of like our third heat wave in 6 weeks here. And this particularly affects my Rhythm Tengoku time because like it's a game where you got to lock in, right? It's not a casual play thing because it's headphones in, block out everything else, get in time, with the rhythm and everything. So basically that kind of game is the kind of thing that I play a lot of the time. There's some exceptions, but a lot of the time it's going to have to be before I go to bed. Just like, I can block everything out now, settle down with this. But in the middle of the heat wave, I'm just too exhausted at that. So I've had it where my eyes just go while I'm trying. It's just like, no. I think I'm good, sort of on the way to the 4th remix at the minute. Barely advanced in the past week. Very, very disappointing, unfortunate timing, but it's just it's completely blown up my ability to get time in with that. So I'm gonna have to live vicariously through you.
John, please tell me you have both bought Rhythm Heaven and suddenly become ranked up all the way to Rhythm Brother status.
Well, as much as I would like to tell you, yes, unfortunately, no.
Shit. Rhythm Brother is, but if there's a Rhythm Flow, which is the sort of like the cumulative score you get, and every 10 you get a new title. I am presently titled Rhythm Brother, which is 120 out of 140. This is as high as it goes. I am all right. Well, let me give some context then. So, fuck, y'all aren't even at the thing that happens. Shit. All right, how am I going to talk about this? Well, we know how many games are in it because they told us.
80.
And as a consequence of them telling us, you can project how many remixes. Well, kind of project how many remixes there are, because there's 5 per, and as you said, there's 80. If you do some math, you end up with less. Wait, it doesn't work, does it?
Huh.
No, it does. It does. Yeah. Yes, that works fine. So yeah, that is correct. That is the correct number. So I've got 2 left, and I know what the 2 are. Specifically, I know what the last one is, because somebody told me about it, and it's fucking ridiculous. But they're at the halfway point. The game essentially enacts second mode, which is when all the stuff takes a spike in difficulty, and now you get to play. Now you're playing with power. This is after the 8th remix, which is interesting, because it is a cumulative remix of everything in the first half of the game. So if you think of it like Remix 10 in Rhythm Heaven Fever, it's sort of like the Remix 10 of the first half of this game. There's no warning this is coming unless you like read all the text that Little Miss Reads tries to babble at you. And so, like, immediately I'm looking at something and I'm like, that wasn't in this. Oh, God! And then we're off to the races. Where I'm at right now, I'm having a weird feeling about this game. Like, I can tell it's good. When I'm locked in, I'm having a good time. I think I'm struggling with it a little bit, and there's a couple reasons. Some of it's the game, some of it's me. I feel like the tutorials are actually more exacting than the game. And I think the reason is most of the tutorials are playing with the same song. They have this basically like you're doing the tutorial now song. And they put the rhythms that you have to tap out in the context of that tutorial song. Not all of them. There are a handful that don't do that. But a great many of them, I would say at least 75%, probably more, use that same song. And what happens is when you roll into the game, the actions you're taking, the rhythms you're doing are more tied to the music. And so it's actually easier than the shit they're trying to make you do with the generic song. Which is really more just of like tap. It's almost just a metronome. Like it's not much of a song. That's part of it, because then when I actually get to the game, like if I feel like I get frustrated doing the tutorial. There was one today where like it took me forever just to clear the tutorial because they wanted you to do like 8 actions.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things, there's the limited experience I've got. Well, I've definitely sort of skipped a little bit, like where it's kind of like, okay, say for instance, it introduces a couple of actions and then it says, all right, now let's put them together. I'm skipping that bit. I'll just go. Yeah. I'll just get. I'll trust I can get on with this from this point now.
And that's generally worked, but I've had times where it's like the let's put it together part actually kind of tells you something important about how to transition between them.
Yeah.
Especially the ones where you're constantly tapping, where you're always going to left, A. But God, it feels like these tutorials take forever sometimes because it really wants you to nail them, which I get. But it would be nice if I could skip a section of the tutorial. When it's a version 2. There's the one that's about chopping up salads. I can't remember what it's called. I wish it would just tell you like there's no new commands. All the commands are the same. You can review if you want. Because then I would just say like, no, I don't really need to review this. Let's just roll. Because there was nothing new in it. It was just new rhythms. So I was like, okay, whatever. There is a very, very late mini game. It's in the trailer, so it's not like I'm spoiling anything. Where you play as a goose flying in formation, and you're just flapping its wings. You press A, the wings go down. You release A, the wings go back up. And you're just copying the lead goose's patterns that taps out. I'm pretty confident I got a perfect on it the first time I played it. But it's in like Remix 14. I don't understand why it's there. That's like that is easier than hoop trundling. But I didn't get perfect, obviously, because it wasn't go for perfect, which is very frustrating that's the whole thing. But I feel like it's just a lot of work to get some of these games going and started and playing. And I wish the cadence was a little bit faster because it kind of makes me frustrated and makes me feel stressed out a little bit. And I end up not wanting to play more than like maybe a single remix and then saying like, I'm good for now. I'll come back later, which is fine. It's not the end of the world. But I mean, I remember, granted, I did it because I had the review. I got through Remix 10 of Rhythm Anthem Fever in like 4 days. Like I marathoned the shit out of that. Even if I had a gun to my head, I don't feel like I could on this. I feel like the times where it's just like, God, I just want to fuck this up. I just don't want to fuck this up. Please, just don't fuck this up. Would make it too stressful to kind of marathon it that way. Like I said, I think that the tutorials needed to use the music from their respective minigame, even if it's in a toned down version, just so you get a feel for what that thing feels like in the right context, because oftentimes it feels better in context. Makes sense. The effect is generated. The action is tied to a song. I also think some of the mixing is weird, and maybe y'all have observed this, where the audio prompt that it wants you to listen for the thing that's telling you what you need to do. In some of the games, and the vegetable chopping ones, chop till you drop, chop, don't drop, or something, I think is what it's called. The command telling you what to do is at times, if it was visually, I would say obscured. Auditorily obscured by the music, because the music's using similar notes. And so it's just harder to hear them sometimes. There's one that's basically a riff on Giant Gorg, where you're throwing a boomerang to destroy meteorites. That one, sometimes the sound cue to tell you what to do can blend in. There's a few I've run into where it just feels like, if you're going back to older Rhythm Heavens, the sound cue is always really goddamn loud. It's really loud. Go watch like a video of somebody perfecting Rhythm Heaven Fever 10 remix. The sound effects that tell you what you need to do are always clearer than the music. They are the clearest thing in the audio mix. By default. I mean, that's what you need in order to know how to beat the game. In this one, sometimes they feel muddy. Sometimes they feel like they're blending in. Sometimes they're just not loud enough. It's a minor thing, but like, it makes it harder to play the game in a way that I don't think was intended. And you can't adjust those settings. So like, I would love to be able to turn up the prompts just a little bit, just to give me a little bit of extra like ability to pick it out from the rest of the background noise.
So does this mean that it becomes kind of a gamble for some of these
things?
No,
like, it's there. You can hear it, but you really have to like crane your ear to hear it.
Yeah.
Which again means I'm taking a little bit of concentration off what I'm trying to do anyway. So yeah, like there's a little bit of that. And the other thing that I wish it did, I wish it gave you a better indication if you were late or early. There's somewhere it's obvious, but there are other mini games where I feel like I got it right. Like, I feel like I got it right, but the game is telling me I didn't. And what I'd want to know is, okay, was I early or was I late?
Yeah, that's really helpful in games like Theatrhythm, right? Where you always know exactly if you're too late. Actually, it's almost to the point where it's kind of picky, like almost too picky.
Yeah, like some of the games are not very exacting. You can get away with being a little bit soft on your timing. But others are really tight, or they ask you to do a bunch of, like, they make a bap, bap, bap on like 3 really quick taps, which means if you get mushy on it at all, you're going to be out by the third one. Being able to understand, okay, you're early, or you're late, or hey, this like triple rhythm, you're like tapping out the first and second on their triplet beat. But then you're just sort of mashing the third one out because you're in turbo mode, essentially. And that's what's screwing you up. All you know is you got it wrong. And so the Giant Gorg knockoff, he does look a little bit like Giant Gorg. He looks like a Polynesian island statue of Giant Gorg. I could never tell if I was ahead or behind. I just couldn't. And it turns out I was ahead because I was misinterpreting the audio cue that it's giving you. The audio cue, you're meant to press the button at the end of the sound they make, not at the beginning of the second sound, essentially. So it's like this weird, like, I had to understand that I was late. I was always late. I needed to adjust to be a little bit sooner up. Even if maybe I am pressing it when they expect you to press it, I'm dealing with the TV in the year of our Lord 2026, so I might have a little bit of latency, and that might be the issue. But once I got that down, I understood this is where they want it, I did fine. But before then, it was a struggle. Even if it's an indicator you could get at the end when, like, if you fail, it's like it gives you a prompt to press a button to just see. You were late. You were early. This is particularly frustrating when, like, you get the second version of a song or of a game, and they introduce a new action, and then they only use that action 3 times because you can pass and miss, a couple of them. But anything that's only in the song like 2 or 3 times, you've got to nail those in order to get the superb ranking. And so that makes some of those things feel really slow because it's like this action you only do 3 times in a almost 2-minute song. And if you fuck up one of them, you're toast because there's only 3 of them and the game wants you to get all 3 in order to get the highest tier ranking. You can make 3 different mistakes, but not those mistakes. But they're also the thing you're least practiced on because the game only put 3 of them in the song. It's weird. Yeah, it's just a handful of things where it's like, man, if y'all had done this, the game would have been so much more pleasant to play, so much more of a joy. It would have felt like my progress was smoother. Like, I'm not usually getting stopped at clearing the level. Usually, if I miss on a level, I'll get it the next time. But it just not feeling like it's as discreet as I want it to be can be a little frustrating. It's still an incredibly inventive game. I haven't found a song yet that I really love, which is a shame. It still has amazing looking art. I'm sorry, I keep yawning. It still has amazing looking art. It's been a long day. I've been up since 6. I'm dead. It still has, the music's still good. I just haven't had one that I'm like, whoa, that's the fucking song right there. The game's still weird. And even past the point where Little Miss Reed tells you things are getting weird. Yes, I know it's the very small text at the bottom. The next person who tells me will be like the 5th. Yes, I saw it. I saw it before the first person told me. I just didn't see it at the time. I did finally have to turn her off because she got on my nerves. Just little things where, like, if they improved the information I'm working under, if they let me just press the minus button from the menu for a game I've beaten before, and it just skips everything. It skips the little opening animation you get with the title card. It skips the training. You're just right the fuck in. That would be cool. That would be really helpful when I'm trying to go after medals. A little more signposting on why you're wrong would be good. You know, make the tutorial part of it feel faster, stuff like that. Use the real song. That'd be super helpful. Maybe it's an acoustic version of the real song. Just something to make it so I'm tapping it out to a rhythm similar to the one I'm going to be doing it against when I actually get into the game. Yeah, but like on top of all that stuff, there's a bunch of really cool minigames in here. There's a bunch of neat ideas. There's a bunch of silly bullshit. There is an unimaginable amount of stock photo usage. There are 2 distinct games. One of them has a -2 version of it. That exists solely to use stock footage or stock images. Nintendo pulled open their stock image library and looked for a bunch of pictures and just put them in the game. It is so incredibly goddamned weird. It is like something you would find on the eShop where it's just like, we made our game entirely out of stock images, which is a thing and happens on the eShop. But this is a Nintendo developed and published game. I don't get it. I don't get it, man. It is odd. It's funny. It's incredibly funny, but very weird. I don't think the rhythm toys are very good. I'll just say that. Like, I remember the early rhythm having games where you'd get like 30 rhythm toys. They're not that good this time. And I haven't run into anybody at the bar yet, even though or the cafe, because they keep telling me that sometimes you'll run into people here and you can talk to them, but nobody's ever been there except for the guy who runs the cafe. I really want someone to show up so I can talk to them. Please, I'm so lonely. But yeah, I enjoy this game a lot. I just have some things that I wish were a little bit smoother, and I wouldn't necessarily feel, I don't want to say stressed out, but wouldn't feel a little anxious playing it. Would just be able to relax and use this as a relaxing game rather than an anxiousness producing title. Not a ton, just a little bit, little hint of anxiousness. That I kind of wish would go away. It would make playing the game for longer sessions easier. But, you know, we'll just say I'm savoring it. I'm savoring the experience. I've said everything I want to say without getting into specifics of mini games that I would love y'all to experience without me having telling you about them.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't remember what's in the trailers, so I don't feel comfortable doing it that way.
Well, if we're gonna,
I was gonna say cool segment, guys.
Yeah.
Anybody got any thoughts?
No, like I haven't played this week. It's
Okay.
really unfortunate.
All right, fair.
I did, so I forgot with all my PSAs. I forgot I had an actual new business.
Oh,
Because I did play this game called Heavy Machinery versus Shumai.
yes. I
So
haven't played it yet, but I also bought it because it looks ridiculous.
yeah, so this is a $2 game. It's not even on sale. It's just that cheap. And from what I understand, it's from a 2014 game jam, like Ehoge game jam. I don't know. So basically, it was made to be played like with like actual heavy machinery controls.
Yeah.
But now it's on the Switch. And so what it is that it's a side view, side scrolling kind of like little puzzle game where you are controlling heavy machinery. The first one that you have is an excavator. And so that's the heavy machinery. The Shumai is a little dumpling, something that you can get at the dim sum. It's kind of like this open-faced dumpling thing. Sometimes it has green peas on top. And so the story, for as far as there is one, is that your boss tells you that he's going to have his lunch. He doesn't like green peas. And so you have to push the green pea off the dumpling using like your excavator. And so
Without damaging it.
Without damaging it, yeah. So as soon as like if you brush the dumpling or the little table that it's on, you're sending everything on the floor. You fail. And so you have to try again. And what you have to do is be very accurate, very like fine motor skills. Like I think that somewhere like it's a fine motor skills puzzle game or something that they were calling it. And
Sure.
like you have to very carefully manipulate the two sticks. Because like on the right stick you're gonna have the controls for the actual the scoop, what do you call it? The
bucket.
The bucket and
Yeah.
the arm that it's attached
The
to.
arm. Yeah.
And on the right, you're going to have the controls for the treadmill. Like you're going to be able to move forward and backwards. And like there's, I think that up and down is like some additional different arm controls. And oh no, wait, that's to like basically you can bend the scoop, like you can open it or close it, the bucket. I mean, like you can move it both ways. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And you can extend the arm or you can lift the arm. So those are like, there are like 3 degrees of movement just with like the appendage, and then you can move forward and backwards. And so you have to find every way, every combination of movements basically that you can push, that you can use to push the pea off. And so like these different ways, like basically they're not revealed to you. They're all, question marks. There's a list. You can see that there's like 16 ways to accomplish this task. And they're rated from 1 to 5 stars. And so the more esoteric or more difficult ways give you 5 stars. I haven't found the 5 stars ways yet for the excavator, but I got them all from 1 through 4. But I'm missing 2 methods of pushing
Nice.
a pea off a freaking dumpling. But like it can be as simple as, like if you raise the arm just like at the right height and then you just move forward towards it and you push it off, then like that's basically 1 star. That's one of the easiest ones you can find. But like if you might have like a different, let's call them achievements, I guess, or solution. Like if you close if you close the bucket, basically, if you bring it towards you, or if you push it away from you, then like that's 2 different ways. You can get like one if you use like the teeth of the that's at the end of the bucket, like that's a different thing. Or if you use any other part of the excavator, that's its own accomplishment. And like as soon as you find one way to push off the pea off the Shumai, you unlock another vehicle. Like there's a tractor, there's like a Anyway, like the last one, like there are 4 vehicles. The last one I got was a forklift, which doesn't have as a big a variety of ways to push the P off the Shumai. But yeah, like it's a very simple game, but it's very well made. Like it's very it's silly, but it's pretty fun. It's just like $2 Canadian. It's pretty good. So I would recommend that. Like it's not. You're not
it's
gonna.
So silly.
Yeah, let's just say this is not a game that I'm going to mention playing every week for the next 4 months. So in that sense,
I can't wait until this turns into construction equipment for Nintendo.
At least for me it's a nice change of pace right now. So yeah, like it's a lot of fun. So I highly recommend it. Pay the $2.
I wish it also used an inordinate amount of stock images.
Sure.
I cannot impress upon you how many stock images are in Rhythm Heaven Groove. It is an alarming amount of stock image usage.
But
to the point where
photos
they're clearly. Was that
photos
Yeah, like photos of models doing things that you could just buy off a stock image service.
Huh.
It's weird. There is one mini game that is literally all it is about. It's the strangest fucking thing I've ever seen in a Rhythm Heaven context, which is saying a lot. Like a tremendous amount I am saying here. It's such a stupid idea for a mini game too, but there it is, and I've played it, I don't know, 10 times. And then I got a version 2 late in the game, and I went, oh god, all right, what fucking bullshit are we up to now? And boy, does it get up to some bullshit. Like we talk about the Rhythm Heaven games being distracting. One of the very first images is a guy like sultrily looking at the camera while drinking tea. I cannot tell you how badly this fucked me up on the very first button press of the stage. But I had to restart. So it was like, what the fuck just happened? And it goes downhill from there. That's the high point. That's like, oh, things are kind of normal still. Things rapidly descend out of control from there. It is one of, like, they maximized the ability to mess with the player on that one. I'm impressed. I'm deeply impressed. But boy, it's evil. And then there was a second one, and I'm like, oh, you won't get me this time. No, it did. It got me. It got me. It's so goofy. What a goofy ass game. It's break time. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to do some listener mail, so stay tuned. We are back with listener mail. And here's what I want you to do for us. For the value of the show. I want you to take a moment and think, what can I do today to make the world a better place? And what you can do to make the world a better place is send RFN an email. That's an easy thing to do. It's easy. Just pick up your emailing device of choice. It could be a phone, it could be a laptop, it could be you could pick up your desktop if you're strong and draft us up an email. That email will go to rfn@nintendoworldreport.com. That's the letter R, the letter F, the letter N, the @ symbol, which you can find on your keyboard if you have one. It's Shift 2. nintendoworldreport.com. It's a website. You send your email there, and what you put in your email is like a question for us that we can answer on the show. An idea you want us to explore would be a great prompt. Maybe you've noticed a trend in games, and you want us to sort of see if, like, evaluate if you're onto something, or if you just need to get outside more. I know it's hot. Be careful out there. But send those to rfn@nintendoworldreport.com. I've got some in the bucket right now, but there's kind of like, they're all kind of one flavor, and so getting some variety so we can kind of mix them up and have different tasting kind of entrees on the meal of the listener mail segment would be very helpful. You know, it's a set meal here. We need some variety. So send us your email. Again, that's rfn@nintendoworldreport.com. If you've never sent an email, I mean, presumably you've sent an email at some point. If you've never sent us an email, really appreciate it if you made today the day. If you've never sent an email at all, I am fucking jealous of you. Keep fighting the good fight. But these people did send emails, and I have put them in the chat for the benefit of my co-hosts so they can read them, because I have spoken too much today. And I'm going to ask Guillaume to read the first email.
So, I'm alright. Hello. In your opinion, which N64 games would have been better games had they been designed from the ground up on PlayStation hardware? Take this question at any scope you want.
So presumably we're not talking about games that were designed for both, and we ended up with an N64 version and a PlayStation version. We're talking presumably an N64 exclusive, or maybe like a very late port.
I mean, I would say almost any RPG, pretty much.
But there aren't any.
Well, that's exactly it. Any RPG they did try to make would have been better on PlayStation.
Well, one of the first thoughts I had was about Ogre Battle 64 in terms of, you know, because it doesn't really take advantage of the things that N64 was relatively good at in terms of, you know, building polygonal worlds, you know, without the weird warping thing that went on PlayStation and all that kind of stuff. You know, that's generally
probably would have been sprite based on PlayStation though on the map.
Yeah, but that's. I mean, I would have thought the biggest thing would be like musically, right? You know, you would be assuming you could get something on par with, you know, kind of what you might hope for or expect, you know, for that kind of game on PlayStation, whereas N64, we've talked about many times, you know, the lack of a dedicated sound processor, the lack of the memory capacity that you're dealing with the cartridges meant that you could get some quite musically satisfying games, but it tended to be, you know, with limitations, and you know, again, there were certain advantages in terms of like dynamic sound, you know, the way that instruments can kind of come in and out with like exploratory games like, you know, the famous Docs, or, you know, in Super Mario 64 where like the drums come in when you like resurface and stuff. But generally speaking, if you wanted the big, rich, you know, kind of orchestral sounds and all that kind of thing that RPGs were trading in, especially at that time, then N64 couldn't really deliver it, and like I said, the things that it was good at didn't really enhance Ogre Battle 64. You know, to my recollection, this is not, you know, to speak ill of Ogre Battle 64. I like the game very much, but it's just, you know, it was a bit of an odd fit on that platform, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think where it probably. The sprite stuff might have looked a little bit weirder on the PlayStation. The map, they definitely wouldn't have built a 3D world for the map. They would have, because that's the one thing that's N64-y about the game is the battle maps. But that would have been easy enough to just go like, yeah, it's just sprites moving across the screen now. Fuck it, we don't care. And it probably would have looked better as a consequence. I think it's more of a market fit is the biggest thing. Like the fact that it doesn't have load times is very helpful. If there were load times coming in and out of battles, that game would be interminable. Because there's a lot of battles. There's a lot of battles. That'd be my one concern, is that it would have a shitload of load times and having to have a memory. It's probably a memory card killer if I had to guess. Like if you were to put that on a memory card, standard PlayStation, normal sized memory card, it feels like it's probably a memory card murderer.
Was that how did they handle that, by the way, with the because a lot of third party, well, everywhere, right? Was it Enix in Japan?
Yeah,
and then was it Atlas? Also, was it outside of in America? Perhaps I forget.
The publisher?
Yeah.
Yes. It was Enix in Japan, Atlas everywhere else.
So nowhere was it a first party game, but a lot of the time, third party games on N64 use the controller pack for. But did they have a save battery, or did they go controller pack with this?
It is saved to cartridge.
Yeah, well, that's nice. Because a lot of the time, the third party games, because the margin sucked on N64, and I get it, right? The cartridges were expensive, and that's not where the rest of the industry was going. And obviously Nintendo, well, they are not cutting anyone else in, right? So it's not as bad for them. But if you're doing a third party game, they tended to want to save on that with on that cost by not having the battery in the cartridge, and it's kind of a bit like a sort of precursor to the game key card situation we have today.
Yeah, this is a tough one because there just aren't that many. Like there just really aren't that many games that are. This was an N64 game, if one and only.
Yeah, I kind of wish I knew the N64 library better, and also the capabilities of each, because I kind of skipped that entire generation, to be honest. So I can say would Yoshi's Story have been better on PlayStation? I don't even know what I'm saying here. What would have changed?
You can say it. I can't stop you.
I guess it's interesting. I mean, but another thought I had was actually something else that's Enix in Japan, which is Mischief Makers.
That was where I was headed, I think.
A Treasure developed game. Now, again, I guess, for me, is this not really like a hard technical thing, or even like a game design thing? But I just kind of feel like that pre-rendered look that they went for on, I don't know, would they do that if it wasn't on N64? Like, that would become such a Nintendo thing.
That game would
DKC?
Be different.
Yeah, you think about the other things that Treasure was developing around that time, games like...
I don't know that it would have been better, but it would have been different.
It would have looked different, and to be honest, I think there's a decent chance it would have looked better, just because it's just... I mean, the pre-rendered stuff doesn't hold up that well in a lot of cases, right? Whatever developer you're talking about, it's just... It was a thing that happened... because developers were trying to find kind of novelty in how you present games, and without actually having to rely on hardware that was more advanced. And so you get sort of stuff like DKC. It's really popular. People start using it a lot. Of course, eventually it would just become the economically sort of convenient way to make assets, right? Because it was easier than hand drawing them. But at that time it was more something like, oh, this is high tech, this is new, this is fancy, so this is what people want to see, especially within the Nintendo audience, right? If just like with DKC being a big deal, you even had to have that superfluous bit at the start of Yoshi's Island that was nothing like the aesthetics of the rest of the game, with the intro that had a pre-rendered stuff. So I just wonder if it affected Treasure's decision making, because you think about the other stuff they were doing, like Silhouette Mirage that was on PlayStation and Saturn. I think it looked best because Saturn was, the more kind of reliable console when it came to 2D visuals. They don't look anything like Mischief Makers, and even if you're talking about the character art or all that kind of stuff, I don't think it necessarily had to manifest itself in that style. And so I kind of feel like it would certainly look different, and probably, at least to my taste, look better if it had been a PlayStation game.
That's fair.
What about games that were kind of, cheap-ish, and would have been better suited maybe for the CD format just for that reason. Like a lot of,
that's a valid reason.
Like Robotron 2064, I think it's called. Like, I don't know if that was an expensive cartridge, but it was probably more expensive.
I mean, every cartridge was expensive,
right? Like for what should have been a $20 maybe CD,
Chopper Attack would be another example of like why is this Kusage on an N64 cart where it is very expensive? That's a Seta Corporation joint.
Yeah, I think there's definitely in Japan there were a few games maybe that were because I think the margins were probably not as bad in the Japanese market. So you got some smaller games. Like I think there's a Star Soldier for N64, isn't there?
Yeah.
And again, I assume one of the things that counts against stuff like that getting localized is just the cost of when you're talking about distributing across. The markets outside of Japan, the costs are going up and it gets prohibitive. So, that's where you get a few things like that Star Soldier example in the Japanese market. But the thing is, the N64, as we've said many times, was not as popular in Japan as it was outside, especially in America, right? So you don't get as many of those as you might think, just because the N64 was not that vibrant in Japan. Like, if considering the economics of like being a third party in Japan were better for that market, right? Like and indeed, like you would have third parties would actually use the safe battery more often in the Japanese market, so I guess again that the margins like allowed for that more. It's just, if the console had been more popular, I think we'd have had many more kind of cool examples like that. And, because again, the PlayStation completely dominated that generation, right? I guess the Saturn had its kind of niche as well, relatively, again, weirdly, after the Mega Drive, as the Genesis especially, done so well outside of Japan, and then like the Mega Drive was not so hot. Saturn, while its popularity away from Japan collapsed, like actually kind of ticked up a bit, and they had a lot of cool exclusives, but N64 didn't really do the same.
Yeah. It's that weird thing too, where like the N64 was the designated Western console.
No, it took up the mantle of the Genesis, basically. That's I've said many times. It's just, they were so fixated on beating Sega, and they did it eventually with stuff like DKC. Right. At the end of Super Nintendo, that the N64 was kind of still fighting them, but they weren't the enemy anymore. They were fighting the last war, and, the PlayStation just routed them in Japan, especially.
I'm sitting here on a couple examples of things that, for different reasons, I think would have been better choices on other platforms. And Guillaume's point about, like, why would you release two distinct Tetris N64 games on expensive ass carts, I think is a valid question. But that's not what I'm looking at here. And I'll kind of touch on two of them, and they both sort of have a similar theme. One of them is, let me get the exact name right, because I can't.
Superman 64?
No, that would be better.
I wonder if that would have been a better game on PlayStation, though.
It would have been a better PlayStation game because it's so much easier to throw the disc away rather than a cartridge is heavier, not as aerodynamic.
There was a PlayStation version of that game in development. It never got off the ground. Pun not intended. So I think actually the answer is no, that it probably was worse because they even bothered to finish the N64 one.
Yeah.
No, one of them is Duck Dodgers, starring Daffy Duck, which is a kind of bog standard N64 era licensed platformer game. But the things that make it kind of interesting is how well it executes the source material. But it's limited. It can't, like, part of Daffy is his talking. And if you played N64 games of that era, especially before, we were trying to remember what it was called last week. I believe it was called Musinx. the Factor 5 developed audio codec for the N64 that lets you put like recorded audio in there. Before that came along to make audio much, much smaller and fit on the N64 carts, you would get a very finite number of audio clips and you'd get to hear them so much. So like a PlayStation version of Duck Dodgers could have had infinite video and audio clips to go with it to kind of sell that, to sell what that was and to really lean into the source material in a way that the N64 version couldn't. Ultimately, it probably still would have been a fairly bog standard licensed platformer of that era. Although what that looked like on a PlayStation versus an N64 had a lot of differences. It would have obviously more likely resembled what the PlayStation version of that concept is. But ultimately, it's you know, two sides, same coin. What I think is a more interesting question is the the Japan-only N64 game Neon Genesis Evangelion, which is exactly what you think it is. It is an Evangelion game released on the N64 in Japan only. That is... I've played it. I would describe it as fighting game adjacent. You fight as an Eva against angels, and the player input is insanely limited. It's like button tapping out rhythms and stuff. It's a lot of watching video sequences, but of course this is N64, so these sequences aren't pre-rendered. And in a way, they look really cool. Like this game has a neat aesthetic to it that looks cool, and it does a decent job capturing the main events of the series and the original movie. But it is not exactly a great game. In fact, it's a pretty poor game. Its big appeal is how they recreated the aesthetic of Ava in an N64 game. However, I think it would have benefited from more voicing, which they could have done on the PlayStation, and also FMV for sequences that didn't translate super well, which, again, they could have just used source material from the original series on the PlayStation. I don't know that the cool presentation stuff, though, that would have been impossible. That is pure N64 power, baby. But if you can just play the video of the thing you're trying to render in N64 polygons, is that actually better than the cool creative way someone found a way to render that in N64 polygons? Like, ultimately, here's the video with the actual audio track that you remember and the music and everything. I feel like that would have been, it would have been a different game, but I feel like it would have been a game that is remembered for more than just being, well, that thing was fucking weird, huh? That really existed. But maybe it wouldn't be remembered at all. Maybe that's the flip side. Maybe it just wouldn't be remembered. It did get a sequel on the PlayStation 2 of all things, which it's a very different game. But I think both cases, it's something where it's a licensed game that would have benefited from the use of more audio and maybe video that simply weren't available at that moment in time on the N64. If you get towards the end, when you have like the so-called legendary RE2 port to the N64, impossible port, there's a shitload of video and audio in there because they'd figured out how to write these codecs to really mash that stuff down. But, you know, there's that, and when these games were coming out, that didn't exist yet. So they were just doing what they can as best they can.
I would say probably the Aki wrestling games, WWF No Mercy, all of those.
I actually think they're on the right home because, like, let's say you want to do a 4-man.
Well,
the PlayStation's going to.
I say this more from a presentation standpoint than anything else because.
Yeah, well, that's fair.
Yeah, because I think the weakest part of that game, especially at that time period when, you know, the Titantron kind of stuff was really getting a lot better. The intros were getting a lot better. The intros always looked really cheesy.
I need to see the big metal fist, John. I need it.
I just think that was like the kind of the entrances was always kind of the cheesiest part of that game, and that was obviously hampered by being on cartridge.
Yeah, I mean the biggest issue, of course, is when did WCW versus NWO come out? Like really, really fucking late.
97.
Okay, that's on pace then.
Yeah.
They were still making those though. Like World Tour is that's 97.
World Tour is 97.
What about Revenge?
Revenge is
What's
98.
That's 98.
Yep. They're both late in both those years.
Yeah, but it's still relatively topical for the NWO. I think the 4-player stuff would have been dramatically worse on the PlayStation, though. It just couldn't handle that in the way the N64 could.
Probably not.
But you're right. The presentation stuff, the stuff around having Dennis Rodman show up when he's supposed to be practicing for the fucking playoffs, which is a real thing that happened because WCW was a fucking crime scene.
Also, Rodman did anything he wanted.
Yeah.
I mean, even with the Bulls, he's just like, oh man, I had a bad game. I'm going to Vegas to blow it off. I might show up tomorrow.
Yeah, it's fine. Listener, it was not fine. They found out that he wasn't injured by seeing him on Nitro.
That's so great. Love it.
It's like it's so perfect for everyone involved. Mm-hmm. Every part of that story is like, yeah, that totally makes sense.
Yep.
That's exactly how I would expected this story to go down. But you're right, like being able to use the actual music, so that you could hear Big Sexy's Wolfpack music play, and then him come out 5 minutes later because being late's my gimmick, brother.
Yeah.
I love that. They wrote a kayfabe reason for why he always showed up to the arena late. God, inmates running the asylum. Being able to do all the fucking pyro rather than having to try to render it, just show a video. Just show a video of the pyro going off. Who cares? All the being able to put more announcer lines in.
Yeah.
Or announcer lines at all. Because that's if you don't ever actually consume wrestling, the announcer is super important.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, you could have even
part of the storytelling.
Yeah, I mean, even if you don't want to have, I mean, you know, it was pretty rough around that time when they did try to.
You don't want to put Bobby Heenan in the booth for 3 hours to see what happens.
What I'm thinking, rather than try to do play-by-play, you could have, like, if you do a certain move, you could have each wrestler say something, right? Like, say a catchphrase, or have Heenan.
Oh yeah.
You know, you could sprinkle it around so that it's actually really cool, rather than, you know, some of the sports games at that time were rough because they were trying to. They were trying to have play-by-play commentary, but obviously they could not just fit enough on there to make it like it is now. And it was just terrible because we just sit there and the commentators would just say the same thing over and over and over again.
You should go look at video of WWF in your house for the PlayStation and Saturn.
Yeah, or Kobe Bryant's NBA courtside as well. Go check that out. Go check out how many and actually just go play a game with Dikembe Mutombo and I'll talk to you later.
The best part about In Your House is that the people who made it was Acclaim. They just treated it like a fighting game. So like the British Bulldog literally turns into a bulldog when he attacks.
Oh
it's
my
weird
God.
As shit.
Wow.
It's so fucking odd. You should go look at it. It's mind melting. But yeah, like just being able to part of me just wanted to get the raw audio of Heenan being stuck recording vocal tracks for 3 hours. Because there's no way by the end, that's going to be incomprehensible ranting about how pissed off he is. And that's the kind of shit that would leak out onto the internet now and be fucking hilarious. But you're right. Like all the stuff you could do, even with just sound, even if you just say like from a sound standpoint, if you were able to do N64 gameplay with a disc, which, granted, part of the reason the N64 can do what it did was because it didn't have a disc. But if you could swing it, you'd have been able to produce a game that has much more interesting presentation, which is what matters in that. What's the sport entertainment industry?
Yep.
Lord. Anybody else got one?
Well, a potential one. I'm not quite sure if the chronology would work here, but you know it's hypothetical, so you know we're breaking chronology anyway.
Yeah.
Jet Force Gemini is you know a case where if you could be taking advantage of the dual shock that comes later. Do they get closer to... The thing is, the third-person shooter didn't really exist yet, right? And Jet Force Gemini is kind of a weird platform.
Not as we know it, at least.
Yeah, it's a kind of a platform hybrid game anyway. And they haven't arrived at it yet. But I'm just thinking, if you had the DualShock as a thing on that platform, does it actually affect the design to a degree, and it actually gets closer to where the third person shooter genre would end up at that time? Because it is a very peculiar kind of control setup that you end up with, because, like I said, some of it's just because the what they created is this kind of chimera thing of like, okay, yeah, there's like stopping and shooting, at formations of enemies, but then there's kind of, like I said, platforming, and so you're using the C buttons a lot to like jump and all this kind of stuff. I'd not say you just like, you just play it with the DualShock and everything would be better. I mean, you have got the rare replay version where like they adapt the control scheme to, the Xbox controller there, and that certainly is more ergonomic and it kind of works fine and everything. But if you had that while you were making it, does it even just like shift the kind of game that it would be? And I guess at that point, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing is very much depends on whether you like what they came up with in Jet Force Gemini, which on the one hand it's kind of peculiar and rough around the edges. On the other hand, because sort of the development of genres kind of went in different directions, it remains quite a sort of particular game to this day. What it tries to offer is unusual even now, because I guess it's really not until RE4 some years later that the kind of a lot of these sort of genre conventions kind of got laid down for that. So that I think that's a really interesting one. Whether it would actually be better or worse, I think it would just be different in interesting ways, and maybe more coherent if they could have had the DualShock. But I don't know how many games like did because again I'm not that familiar with the exact chronology of like when DualShock shows up and how many games actually kind of use it. Because I know Ape Escape was big on it, right? But it
was built to show it off.
Yeah, but that's. Beyond that, I'm not sure like how many really got to grips with it.
Any others?
I'm just surprised we didn't get any hot takes like Ocarina of Time would have been better on PlayStation. I would have liked to hear that argument, but just imagine Lost Woods, but a long load screen between every time that you every direction you take.
I guess we can hope for the remake might provide that. It's like
yes.
The textures are just so searingly high quality that it does actually take quite a long time.
We rendered these textures at 8K. Fuck it. It would be beautiful. All right, let's do one last email. John, would you read it?
Sure. Let me just pull it up here. All right, Bikenite writes, "Hey gang. The last episode being all insider shop talk got me thinking. I acquired..."
This was a while ago, just to be clear.
Is this the draft episode, right?
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
I acquired a Best Buy credit card way back in 2009 when I made my first big boy TV purchase after graduating college. I've used this as my main credit card ever since, and I get in-store credit with it. They give 1% back of each dollar you spend outside of Best Buy and 5% back on purchases within Best Buy. This allows me to get new games super cheap. I just got Pragmata for $5 and I pre-ordered Splatoon Raiders for $10. Now, I'm assuming Best Buy just pays the remainder of the bill, but when does the cost get incurred? Do they eat it up front when ordering games for their warehouse or shelves, or do they have to pay Nintendo after I buy the game with this fake money? With peace and love, Bikenite.
All right.
I mean, they sure wouldn't eat it up front. They would.
Well, so kind of.
They wouldn't pay Nintendo after the fact, for sure.
No, they bought the product. So
yeah, that's retail.
There's two ways. All right, I'm gonna do two things first. I'm gonna answer the question, then I'm gonna loop back, and then I'm gonna yell, and then I'm gonna answer the question in detail. There are two ways things are sold in retail, and it depends on the product. Different sections of the market do it differently. There are products that are sold to the retailer, and I for whatever fucking reason, I can't remember the name of the two terms, but ones are, they're sold to the retailer by the manufacturer or by a wholesaler. Sometimes there's a middleman at the wholesale price, and then the retailer sells it themselves. Then there is there are products, this is big in the tool industry for whatever reason, where the distributor, because usually it's not the company that makes it, usually it's a distributor or the company that made it, distributes the product to retailers, but the ownership isn't changing. So it still belongs to DeWalt, for example. And what happens is, it's when it sells, the ownership changes to the retailer as part of the sale transaction. And then the retailer then changes the ownership to the person buying it. So it basically changes ownership twice. And the store buys it from the retailer, from the manufacturer, just as the sale is going through. This allows for stores to not carry lots of expensive inventory, which is great for tax and insurance reasons, because you get taxed on your inventory. Did you know that? You get taxed on your inventory. There's some other reasons to do it. It allows, essentially really what it's doing is it's acting as credit from the manufacturers to the sellers. It also allows the manufacturers to not have to have deep warehouses, because they can essentially just pump it to the stores, and the stores are acting as their warehousing. It allows them to control the price, because of course they're having much more control over the pricing at that point. They own the fucking product. So they can avoid somebody trying to crash out their prices. But generally speaking, it's done for accounting reasons. I wish I could remember what the name of that term, the name for that is. There is technically a third path, which is the store never owns it. The whole thing's sold on commission. That doesn't happen that much in new goods retail. That tends to be something more for like resale. But it does happen in some cases, not these. But generally speaking, small item retail works on the retailer orders a set of it and pays for it up front and receives their shipment and distributes it to their roofs in order to be sold. So Nintendo, for example, in that kind of model, when the retailer buys copies of the game from Nintendo is effectively out of the transaction at that point. They get their money from the retailer for the wholesale price, and then they're done. So in the case of using Best Buy store credit, and this also applies to like gift cards. If somebody gives you a gift card to a store, it's just treated in lieu of cash. So from an accounting standpoint, they create essentially a payable that is paid off. It's your payable. It's the customer payable. And they put credits on it. This is what you owe. This is the debit that you owe the store in order to get the thing on the accounting side. And the credits are the cash plus the store credit or whatever. And they just move all that over in lieu of cash. It zeroes out on the store's numbers because generally speaking, when you look at the ledger line for a retail location, you're not going to punish them for using non-cash pay types that corporate has dictated they accept. So like store credit, you would just treat any pay type as cash from the purposes of understanding the state of their ledger. How are they doing in terms of sales versus expenses? But Best Buy themselves would essentially mark that off through an accounting transaction internally, where they would have a Best Buy credit card. I'm sure they don't run their own credit card. I'm sure it's run by a third party, and they're getting credit transferred in from that third party to cover both their stake, what they get paid for the cross branding opportunity, and also to cover the expenses of running the program, i.e. the store credit component. So Best Buy is not treating that purchase in any way, shape, or form different than if you walked in with 10,000 pennies and bought it that way. From there, or you swiped your card is a little bit different because there's going to be a swipe fee. Let's ignore that. We're going to pretend like it's just credit cards or just cash on plastic. But effectively, the transaction is the same all the way across. For those of you who don't know, if you use a credit card, not a debit card, specifically a credit card, the retailer is charged swipe fees. That is literally what it sounds like. That is a fee from the credit card companies to charge you for using your credit, to charge you for accepting credit card payments. It is a percentage-based rate. I can't remember what the current rolling average for swipe fees are, but major retailers are able to negotiate better fees than others. This is why you might run into a situation where, like, American Express, which is a pretty widely accepted credit card, is often not accepted in a lot of places. They maybe weren't willing to play ball, or
especially
Visa
smaller retailers, especially or like small shops and stuff like that. But it's effectively them saying, "Hey, we're making it easy for your customers to shop with you by maintaining their credit card accounts. So we're going to take a little cut of your business."
Right, and there's a good reason for it. It costs money to run a credit card. Like, being a credit card provider costs money. They are offering a service to stores, a service that stores value, because I can tell you the worst thing in retail is handling cash.
Yeah.
It's the worst.
And there's also huge infrastructures behind running credit cards. We're talking billions of transactions and very high performance systems that they have to have for running all of these transactions.
And extensive auditing.
Yes.
And security.
PCI compliance, all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. SOX 2, all that shit. Yep. And all that costs cash, big cash, small cash. And credit card companies make their money, and this is now we're getting to a part of the question you didn't ask, make their money two ways: the swipe fees and the interest. If you pay off your credit card every month, which is what I do, I pay the balance for the month every month. I have never paid a cent of interest on my credit card because I always pay whatever the statement balance is at the end of the month. My credit card has made $0.00 on me ever. Visa. From me specifically. They have made money on my swipe fees because I use my credit card for literally everything. Now, why do I do that? Because I have a cashback card. That cashback rate is just south of 3%. Advertised 2%, but there's some padding on it. And some of those swipe fees and some of that interest goes towards these kinds of perk programs, including your Best Buy card. The money that they collect from the swipe fee, from the interest, some of that is funneled back into rewards programs. And in fact, there was a previous U.S. Presidential administration had been pushing for caps on swipe fees. I believe it was swipe fees they were trying to cap, not the interest. And the banks and the companies inside the bank that run their credit card operations, there's usually kind of a firewall there. Complained because they said that they're going to have to cut rewards programs as a consequence, like mileage programs for flights and stuff. What I will say is unless you're spending an absolutely ungodly amount of money at a given retailer, you are generally speaking better situated to get a good general purpose rewards credit card from your bank, because if it's your primary bank, they're going to do things to try to get you the best opportunity to be successful possible, and because they don't want you to default. That's bad for them. It's bad for their business. Generally speaking, cashback gets you more money, and it certainly gets you something that is useful everywhere. So, that's something to consider. But also, store credit cards tend to have much higher interest rates. They expect a percentage of defaulting. And so they're willing to treat everyone as subprime, which means you get higher interest rates. Strongly consider, going to your bank and going, do you have a credit card I can get 2% cash back on all purchases with no annual limit? Which I think both Wells Fargo and Capital One have one. And that's getting into Amex territory, which is part of the reason Amex has such high rates. Amex is that way. These kinds of things, they don't get you credit to Best Buy, but they get you something you can use literally anywhere, which is just regular ass cash.
Yeah.
I get
I do that with Amazon. I have an Amazon card that does that.
Yeah.
But and the
Like,
reason why I do that
like,
is because I buy everything from Amazon, right? Like,
yeah, I get like $30-something a month back on my credit card. It's just money that goes right into paying off the bill because I literally pay my bills with my credit card. You probably shouldn't do that. My credit score's fine, so it's not a big deal. Generally speaking, it sets off some red flags. But if you pay it off every month, the two kind of wash each other out. I just do it because it means I get like $35 back every month. It's like a little paycheck to me. But, you know, it's going to have a lower interest rate than a store card. I have seen people get in trouble with store cards. I have helped bail people out who got in trouble with store cards, so keep that in mind. It is a way that retailers make money. So somebody always makes money on your credit card. Try to make sure it's you, is my advice. But yeah, I mean, ultimately, from the standpoint of how do they pay for it, it's not like phantom money that doesn't exist. It's not like the antimatter of money. Best Buy just treats it effectively no different than if it was a gift card. From an accounting standpoint, behind the scenes, it is very different because they're going to charge it to whoever is actually running their credit card program. But functionally, it's cash. It's cash equivalent. They actually like when you spend those because they have to account for outstanding gift card balances, and that would include credit card rewards programs. So they actually prefer you spend it so it goes away and they don't have to account for it anymore. But functionally, it's cash. Cash is cash is cash. It's, if you want it to be more specific, it's kind of a debt that they owe because they owe repayment for that credit amount, but I don't think anybody accounts that as a debt. That would be insane. They might account it as a liability because somebody could run a call on it and be like, I'm going to spend $1 million of Best Buy gift cards I've amassed over the last 5 years. And suddenly they have to eat that transaction at one store, but it's fine. They'll be all right. They got it under control. So yeah, I mean, that's a lot of words to say like, hey, if you're getting your first credit card, don't get a store credit card. Don't.
Yeah.
And also,
yep.
To say like I don't have any. I will go to my grave and then I've never even gotten a store specific credit card. But the other one being that to answer the specific question, it's cash. They treat it like cash. It's fine. That Best Buy doesn't have some weird scenario where random, very popular game allegedly sold for like $30 instead of the standard $80. Like they just say $30 was paid for in cash, $80 was paid for in store credit, and it sort of washes that way. Gasoline rewards programs kind of do the same thing. When it's like, oh, if you spend money at this grocery store, you can then go use your shopper's card at the gas station to lower the price. They actually lower the price though, which changes the math a little bit in a weird way. But functionally, I assume they're just billing the person running the promotion accordingly, and it all comes out in the wash. So yeah, that's not a very exciting answer or like super compelling, but it's just kind of, it is what it is. It's cash. What it is cash, or cash equivalency, technically, I guess. I don't know. Does anybody else have anything?
I mean,
no.
I don't know what websites you guys have on in the US. Like, is Milesopedia a thing over there?
Milesopedia? I'm sure is like in terms of how it compares credit card rewards programs.
Yeah. There are websites where you can compare. Rewards.
NerdWallet does a pretty good job,
right,
of that. Like you can give them stuff and they'll be like, "This is the card you should get."
But yeah, like maybe find like for your country the best website comparison for comparisons for credit cards, and just find something that suits you. I've got one that basically it's the extra cashback is for all things that I would be doing anyway, like public transit, groceries. I get 5% on groceries, but up to a certain limit. But Karen and I are only two, so we never reach it for now. inflation might have a say in that at some point. But anyway, so there are resources out there, but I would definitely ditch the Best Buy card.
I could probably do better than the card I have, which is 2% on everything, and could get one that's got more ranges, like one where it's like 5% on travel, book through Chase Travel, 3% on drugstore purchases, 3% on dining at restaurants, 1.5 on all other purchases. Mm-hmm. Where it's like, in the end, would I come out ahead going to something that's more graduated like that, but has a lower on everything else? So it's like, I just went with the simplicity in this case.
I guess before closing the Best Buy card, I would say that that might wreck your credit card score.
Yeah, you don't have to close it. You just zero it.
Keep it. Yeah. Just don't use it.
And it's the weird thing about credit scores is I've got 2 credit cards in my name now because I've got the one through work, and technically speaking, that counts. It doesn't hurt you to have a couple. That's that's cool. Mm-hmm. If you start amassing a bunch of credit cards, then the algorithm's like, the fuck's they doing over there? The fuck are they doing? But also, if the credit card's just idle, it doesn't really affect the numbers that much either.
Right. But you want to keep your oldest one, so which is the situation. That's the one. So yeah, keep it around.
You can eventually transition, but I would strongly, unless you're spending shitloads of money at Best Buy all the time, I would say you might come out ahead if all of your transactions. I used to buy everything on my check card, but I flipped to everything on the credit card. One, because the credit card is a little bit safer. If there's a purchase I didn't make, it's much easier to get that wiped than on the check card. Yeah. And 2, the check card doesn't have any rewards tied to it.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Now, that's because there's no interest on it. Because I'm using my money to pay for it. It is a cash equivalency. But if I pay it off every month, which I have just an algorithm on my account that does this I get a text saying how much it is, and unless I see a number that makes me go what the fuck, it just auto pays that amount.
Yeah,
and I'm good to go.
Yeah, I do that with Amazon, right? It's just I just figured I'm always going to be buying stuff on Amazon, so I'm talking just normal household goods, right? I'm not talking televisions. I'm talking oh, I need paper towels. Well, I'll just use my Amazon bucks for that because Lord knows I don't want to spend my money on that if I don't have to.
Yeah. So Best Buy used to have a good rewards program for just being, on their rewards program, and they would stack it with the credit card, and that was kind of their thing. But I don't go there enough to make that worth it.
Yeah. For me, a Best Buy card it's too narrow in scope.
Yeah, I mean, you could use it everywhere.
Oh, but, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but I would also look at the interest rate on it.
Yeah,
compared to even if you're paying it off. I've definitely had cycles in the past where I didn't pay it off because I looked at the number and maybe there was I had to put when I hurt my arm, I put the surgery on my credit card. Mm-hmm. Was this a good idea? Generally speaking, no.
But if you're going to pay it off, then you make money off of that purchase.
Yeah, I got 3% cash back on it.
Yeah, but so otherwise you would just pay it and get nothing.
3% cash back on this ambulance trip.
Yeah.
Which was more expensive than the surgery.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that the ambulance only went 0.6 of a mile. I do not understand. I still don't understand.
Yeah, don't get me started on ambulance fees or ER fees,
also,
actually.
the bill came a year later.
Yeah.
I had already done recovery and was back to weightlifting.
Yep.
Fucking stupid.
Yep.
But I paid it with the credit card because fuck those guys. I want to make them pay the swipe fee. And they did, fuckers. But yeah, I got cash back on that. I got cash back on my ambulance ride and my the surgery that reconnected all the ligaments in my elbow. Mm-hmm. And I got cash back on the separate bill for the anesthesiologist. So I got put under. I got cash back on getting put under. I got cash back on the hospital. I got cash back on my rehab.
And hey, welcome to the U.S. where you have to pay out of pocket for all of this stuff.
3% cash back on rehab, John.
There you go.
3% cash back on rehab.
Yeah.
Was 3 at that point? It was 3 at that point. That's America.
That's
America.
I had a friend from Europe who she doesn't have a credit card, and the concept is foreign to her. And
get one.
She said, yeah, why do you guys in America, why do you all have credit cards? And I'm like, you have not encountered the American medical system.
Well, yeah,
where,
sure too.
Where you go in and you get something done and you're like, well, let's see how much they're going to charge me for that, even with insurance. So,
yeah. I mean, for a while I was putting my mortgage payment on my credit card until I was told, like, hey, don't do that anymore. And I'm like, okay, boss.
Why did they say not to do that?
Just it looked weird. Is how it was described to me. It looks like I didn't have the money. Like I wasn't good for it.
Yeah.
This was also right around the time that bad stuff was happening in the industry. So
I can see that. Okay, I can see that.
I get you. Because you got to keep in mind that all the credit cards are algorithms, especially now they're algorithms that are being generated against big data AI. This is not LLMs.
Yeah.
This is a different thing.
But you know what?
And there's
kind of a similar thing to this. One thing that I never knew this until I actually tried to do it. But if you have a prepaid credit card, right? So let's just say someone says like, oh, hey, I got you a gift card. It's one of those Visa cards you can use anywhere. It's like, here, it's $100 on it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You cannot use those to pay medical bills in the U.S.
I guess because they don't necessarily know that the value is posted on them yet.
Yeah.
There could be an outstanding transaction on them.
Yep. Because I've tried it. Because I had some $150 balance with a card, and I had like a $200 gift card or something from like I got like a work, like as a spot bonus at work or something. Nope, not accepted. Yeah, and I'm like, okay, and I'm like, okay, so but I could put this on my credit card, like I could put it on my Visa, and this like those prepaid cards are Visas, right? But that particular site, there must be a flag in them that says cannot use for medical.
There actually is, yeah.
Yeah.
Because the thing with all the credit cards is it's possible there are unposted transactions that are still waiting to be calculated into against your limit. And therefore, it is possible that they will approve a transaction and you'll blow through your limit. Because there was another pending transaction on the card that hadn't been factored into your limit yet, and now you're over your limit. Mm-hmm. And the agreements are, generally speaking, because the credit card has already told the vendor it is approved. Even though you spent money that the credit card shouldn't have let you spend, credit you don't have, the credit card company is still going to pay the vendor because they already agreed to pay the vendor. They said, yep, we approve that transaction. And now you're on the hook for the collections part of this mess. Because the credit card wants their money. And that's kind of like how they'll work through those kinds of messes and stuff. Whereas the check card, it's just, do you have the cash?
Yeah.
Because this is like getting overdrawn on an actual physical check, which is a thing that used to exist. Because those get processed in whatever order they arrive at the bank, that, you might blow through your money that way. And suddenly you're writing overdrafted checks. The person who cashes the check still gets paid. But I can see with the check card, that's just a gift card. It's not tied to any person. So the bank can't hound you to pay the overage. Because it's just made out to whatever. It's not like it's tied to you, those like $100 Visa cards. So the check cards versus even with the credit cards, the bank knows where you live and will make you pay the difference. In this case, they can't. They don't know. They don't even know who you are. Like, you're spending it. They assume you're the person that's being spent on, but who knows? So I can see expensive stuff just going like, no, thank you. We're not doing that. Whenever I get them, I've won them as like prizes at work too. I usually just convert them into Nintendo eShop credit. And then just stick them on the Switch, and I'm like, there. Like, I will spend this at some point. It has effectively been accounted for. It's not like I'm collecting interest on it. It's a piece of plastic. But yeah, reward programs are great. Go look to make sure that you're getting something with a good reward program and good interest rates. But don't fall for the introductory rate. When my current card had an introductory rate of 3 before it dropped to 2, I blew everything on there for that 1% that I was gonna. 1 fucking percent's mine, yo. That is $1 for every 100 I spent. It was like, that's mine. Yeah. So, be reasonable. But yeah, yes, it's cash. There, the answer. Back to the actual question. It is cash. All right. Cool. I think that's going to do it for us this week. Let's go back through some announcements we had earlier in the show. Our next retroactive, which we'll be doing sometime in early August, is for Sonic Mania. There are no threads yet. If you are in the mood to create them, you can. We will be doing our retroactive on that because it is a game that came out day and date on Switch in its first year. So, get ready for that. Like I said, probably the first full episode recorded in August. Episode 999 will be a retroactive on the game 999. So if you want to go ahead and get started on that, we're not that far away off from that shit either. So,
Yep.
Be ready for it. And then episode 1000 is going to be some form of live show to do some form of good. Details to come when I have some form of answer for you. Thumbs up. And then lastly, emails. Please send them. It makes me so sad when there's no new good emails in the inbox. So you could send them to rfn@nintendoworldreport.com. You don't want me to be sad, do you? John does. You don't want to make John happy. Send us an email.
I don't want you to be sad, James. I just want you to hurt every once in a while.
Just ennui. Just general,
General.
What's the whole point of it?
Yeah.
That's rfn@nintendoworldreport.com. You sending us an email, that's the whole point of it. So, get on it. And on that, Greg, what is our music to conclude this weird this is a weird episode.
Yeah,
what's your music to wrap it up?
Well, a somewhat uncommon occurrence that we had this week was actually an NSO update with non-expansion pack content. They are pretty rare these days.
This is the first one since, was it April?
I feel like it's been a bit a while, and they're not always that. Sometimes in the past, they've been quite plentiful. I feel like there was that one, before Switch 2 came out, that had the Gradius Interstellar Assault in it. Or it was like 5 games or something. But yeah, lately they've been few and far between. Not always that much in them. But this time, there still was an expansion pack component to it because you had the Dr. Mario and the Puzzle League sort of combo game for GBA. And in Japan, they actually had the Alpha Dream sort of tomato RPG thing that was like a precursor to the Mario and Luigi games is on the Japanese app. So there still was things for expansion pack subscribers. But on the regular tier, we had some Game Boy games, including finally Super Mario Land 3, Wario Land. Amazing that, all this time later. Because I think Wario Land 3 was that a launch game for the Game Boy?
I believe so, yes.
GBC sort of offering.
Yeah.
And all this time later, we finally get the first of the Wario Land games. And the second one, I think, is still, to come, I guess. After, we've had stuff like Virtual Boy Wario Land, incredibly. But we also had a game called Fortified Zone from Jalico, and we had a request in from Connor for a song from that, which, actually it was noted that there's a Game Boy sequel that's not yet on the service to that game, Fortified Zone. It's kind of top-down, bit like, Capcom Commando, something like that, but apparently it's got more of a maze kind of element to it and puzzle element to it. Seems kind of interesting. Maybe the sort of thing that might be suitable for the service in kind of would you pay for this outright on Virtual Console? Maybe not, depending on how much you like. Oh, well,
and the 3DS.
3DS Virtual Console, but I didn't. So, but I might actually try it.
Can confirm April was the last set of non-expansion pack.
Yeah, it's quite a while, isn't it? And they it feels like these days it can be big intervals between them. But there is actually, I believe, a sequel to this or a related game that is already on NSO and has been for a while, because there are quite a few Jalico games, and of which this is one. the Super Nintendo Operation Logic Bomb, or so. It's this weird title, and the Western box art on it on the that you get to see on the
is Jalico as hell.
The Super Nintendo NSO like front screen is something, so you have got like that to investigate as well, but. Using the Game Boy sound hardware, I think this is the third stage theme. Yeah, pretty cool stuff, for what it's got going here. So yeah, nice. Might give it a look sometime.
Cool. All right. Well, on that, it is time to go. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Later.
Bye bye.